Hello everybody, we're the Interactive Factbook group with Holly Cornett, Anthony McKnight, and Jake Scott. So our client was SOU Office of Institutional Research. The mission of institutional research is to provide timely and accurate statistical analyses that are integral to the strategic planning process for SOU, including support for internal decision making and overall institutional effectiveness. So what does that all mean? Well, IR provides the campus and general public with SOU student data. We report enrollment and demographic data to the government for accreditation purposes, as well as reporting graduation rates for funding purposes. We work closely with SOU administration to inform any kind of data-driven decision making they may want to do. And we also provide data gathering assistance for campus staff, students, and the general public if anyone's doing research projects where they need student enrollment data or demographic data or tuition and fee data historically or staff data, any kind of data. We can help get that for them. There's our website, su.edu/ir. The impetus of our capstone is the SOU Factbook. So IR publishes a factbook annually. The factbook is basically a 50-page booklet that contains various data about the university, including student enrollment, historical student enrollment and demographics, historical faculty and staff demographics, retention and graduation rates, historical tuition and financial aid data, basically who is on campus and what are they doing historically, and we update that every year. The factbook is available in print and on the IR website as a PDF. The link is there if you want to look at those PDFs. So currently there are some issues with the way the factbook is distributed and made. One, it's extremely time consuming to make. There's a variety of disparate systems and scripts that need to be put together, and then all the data is entered manually into Excel documents, and then those Excel documents are published to PDFs and put up on the website and printed out into hard copies. So it's just a very arduous, labor-intensive process. The book is not flexible once it's created. There's nothing we can really do about print copies, but the PDF copies, the whole PDF needs to be republished if there's any amendments or any changes we want to make, so it's difficult on that end. It's also very cumbersome to distribute, so the only portal to distribute it once the physical versions go out is to go onto our website and get a PDF. It would be great if we could ease that process. It's also difficult for readers to navigate, so sifting through a PDF or flipping through a book isn't terrible, but sifting through a PDF takes a lot of time and is difficult to find what you're looking for, and it's not very good for discoverability of what data is necessarily in the factbook. So the goal of our capstone was to create a web-based factbook that addresses all four of those points. It needs to be easy to update, easy to change, easy to distribute, and easy for users to navigate. So I think we are able to accomplish all those goals very nicely. So here are the major features of the Interactive Factbook. Winter term was mostly focused on back-end development with a little bit of a front end, and spring term was mostly based around polishing up the front end and getting in all the interesting features we want to make it a nice user-friendly experience. So winter term, we developed the relational database to store the factbook data. We also developed a procedure for annually updating that database so that IR staff can easily update it. And we created a version 1, kind of a rough front end for viewing factbook data. Now in spring term is when we kicked into gear and got the front end all cleaned up and nice. So we created pages for all the figures in the print factbook. So now if it's in the original factbook, then there is a page viewable and available on the Interactive Factbook website. We made some very nice sidebar links so that you can easily navigate and find what you're looking for. We also added functionality to view multiple factbook years. So if you want to take a look at the 2016 version of the factbook, it's a simple drop-down menu that you can click on that and the 2016 version of the factbook will come up. And then you can also switch back to any other years you might be looking for. And then we also added in functionality to download factbook figures as PDFs. So if we want to print off any of those pages for presentations or handouts, then that's easy as well. I'm going to hand it off to Holly to show some of the tools and technologies we use to accomplish these features, as well as show you around the Interactive Factbook a little bit to see what we made.
I will now take a moment to briefly discuss the different technologies we've utilized in the Interactive Factbook application project. The main programming language used to develop the Interactive Factbook is Python. We decided on Python since it is easy to debug, has many useful packages, built-in data structures, and is good for data science. To create the web application itself, we turned to a Python-based web framework called Django. It's open source, makes use of web page templates, includes a lightweight standalone web server for testing, and supports databases with the object relational model. To create the graphs themselves, we used an interactive visualization library called Bokeh. It allows for the creation of graphs, charts, maps, and other visual representations of data. It is coded in Python, but outputs in JavaScript. It can be used with Python data structures and Pandas data frames. Pandas is a Python data analysis library. It uses data frame objects to make data science-related queries easier and faster. It can pull data from a database or an Excel file and is natively supported by the visual library Bokeh. For editing code and workflow, we decided to develop in Visual Studio Code. It supports most languages, has many useful extensions, and helps ensure the consistency and quality of our code. In order to store data for the Interactive Factbook, we created a relational database. The primary goal for this database design was flexibility. The database is generated using Django's Object Relational Model, or the ORM. The ORM provides an API to create, retrieve, update, and delete records using Python objects. Each table in the database is actually a Python object. Queries are built by calling these objects. The current version of the database was created in SQLite 3. The procedure for updating the database was created using Django's built-in management system. A CSV file or an Excel file should be prepared based on specifications from the main SOU database. The user would log into the Factbook server and run commands on this prepared CSV file. When this command is run, tables are generated and the data is uploaded to the Interactive Factbook database. The web front end of the Interactive Factbook includes navigation links on the side to make graphs easy to find. Each standard curated graph is present on its own page in the Interactive Factbook. Each graph is accompanied by a table for a more detailed look at the data. When a graph link is clicked, the graph and the table are dynamically generated using data from the database. I will now give you a live demo of the current version of the Interactive Factbook. As you can see, we have a graph right here. Title of the graph is up here and the category. We have a sidebar navigation that is also organized by category. It's collapsible, so when you open a category, you'll see all the graphs below. There is a home page containing information about the Factbook, and an other information section containing useful links about the college. This graph contains data for this year displayed up above, and you can mouse over each section of the graph to see the data. So right here we've got a percentage, over here we've got a year and number of students, and each graph has a legend. And down below is a table containing the same data as the graph up above. Over here we have a sort of quick print button. You click on that and it opens a print dialog or a print window, and it contains the graph and the table already formatted for print, so it'll look really nice and there are no web page elements in there. And just to show you some examples of the type of graphs in the Interactive Factbook, this is a bar chart. We also have a line chart here, and you can mouse over each plot to see the information. We also have a stacked bar chart, where you can mouse over each color and see the information there. And here's a pie chart that you can also mouse over each section of the pie. Another great feature about the Interactive Factbook is you're looking at data currently for 2019. Well, what if I wanted to look at data for last year? So up here, we have a year selector, and all you need to do is go up here, select the year you want to view, hit this button here, and the data will dynamically change to that year. The graph will update, the year up here will update, and the table will update. So everything changes according to the year that you've selected. Here's 2017. I thank you very much for your time. I'm going to pass the presentation over to Anthony. Thank you.
So because the new Factbook site requires little to no input from regular users, the majority of our testing consisted of checking the accuracy of the displayed information against what was in the existing Factbook. And then things like, do the navigation links go to their correct pages? Do the graphs load consistently and in a timely manner? And are the displayed graph and table consistent with each other and the existing known good values? For example, on the left here we can see a chart from the original Factbook PDF, and on the right we have the same chart on our site generated from our new model. The values are consistent with each other and everything checks out. Well, this was a real project for a client, it was still part of our college experience, and as such there were some things we learned along the way. If there was a significant data discrepancy, did it expose a problem with our model or with what was originally used to generate the existing Factbook? We also discovered the importance of testing on multiple devices while developing the year selector. Because each of us were testing on our own single device, we didn't discover a problem with this feature until both of us happened to be looking at the test server at the same time. We've since solved that problem by implementing individual user sessions rather than a global variable for that. For data discrepancies, Holly discovered at one point that we were getting wildly different values in our model compared to what was in the Factbook PDF. And in this case, because these values were originally from Excel spreadsheets, there were some copy and paste errors, where in the chart is actually missing the other category, and as such, all of the values are offset from where their labels are. And so it's not accurate, it's not consistent, and we have since solved that in our new model, and the version of this that's on our site is now more accurate. As for distribution of labor, because this term was mostly focused on polishing things up for final release and fixing any remaining bugs, most of these issues were just evenly distributed among whoever was most familiar with the feature involved. Holly mostly took CSS and UI front-end tweaks. In my case, I finalized several graphs and added the year selector feature, with Jake helping quite a bit in the user instances for that feature. Jake himself focused on fixing some data inconsistencies we had in the back end and getting the database loading scripts fully up and running for final release. In conclusion, our Factbook 2.0, which is ready for final release, includes our relational database, which is accurate and easier to update than the original Excel spreadsheets that the Factbook was using. We have a procedure for annually updating the database, which makes it easier to update for Jake or whichever IR employee happens to take this up. The web front end for viewing our Factbook data is easier to navigate and view than just the raw PDF that was previously available, which we hope will increase how many users actually access this data. And Our Factbook site allows export as PDF and easy printing, which will make this easier to distribute than the process that it used to involve.